In any society, there are social norms such as politeness. There are two types of social norms: implicit, for example, sitting next to someone on an empty bus, and explicit, for example, laws. This theory attempts to define abnormality as deviation from behaviours that are socially acceptable. The main issue with this is that what is socially acceptable changes over time. For instance, homosexuality is now seen as acceptable, but 50 years ago it was listed under sexually deviant behaviour. If abnormality is defined in this way, it allows professionals to potentially class eccentric behaviour as mentally unstable. Thomas Szasz claimed that this theory is simply a way of excluding non-conformists from society. Also, what is socially acceptable is regulated by context. For instance, it's acceptable to wear a bikini at the beach, but not walking down the street. This means that socially deviant behaviour cannot be an exclusive diagnosis of abnormality, as other factors affect it. It is also difficult to define social norms as they vary across cultures, which means there are no universal rules for defining abnormality. This theory defines abnormality as failure to function in everyday life. For example, if you are feeling depressed but still manage to wash, cook, and go about your life in general, this can probably be coped with. If, however, you cannot do this due to depression, help is probably needed. It is unclear who judges this, however, as the patient may not feel they have a problem. Some apparently dysfunctional behaviours are actually adaptive for the individual. For example, depression may lead to welcome extra attention. Definitions of adequate functioning are also related to ideas of how life should be lived. This may explain why lower-class and non-white patients are more often deemed mentally unstable, because their lifestyles are non-traditional, and this may lead to a judgment of failure to function adequately. Yehuda defined abnormality as absence from signs of mental health as physical illnesses are diagnosed. Her 6 criteria were growth and development, accurate perception of reality, positive attitude towards self, resistance to stress, autonomy, and environmental competence. This model states that if the criteria are not met, there is the potential for mental disorder. A limitation of this is, according to these criteria, most people could be deemed mentally ill, as not many meet all 6 criteria. Also, many mental disorders do not have physical symptoms, so it may be wrong to try to define mental illness and physical illness in the same way. Yehuda also based her criteria on Western ideals, so non-Western cultures may be misdiagnosed as abnormal more easily. For instance, reaching one's potential may not be relevant in collectivist cultures.